Hello, how's it going? I hope your life is incredible. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. Yes, we are in the month of October. It's like time flies. The NFL season is all the way ramped up. And last night on Monday Night Football, there was an epic AFC North clash. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Mason Rudolph get a massive win against the Andy Dalton and the Toothless Tigers Bengals of Cincinnati. That was a bad game last night. Sunday Night Football was boring. Monday Night Football was boring. But the NFL will always be the NFL. Couple quick questions. Is Mason Rudolph the future? 24 of 28, only 3 of his passes were longer than 10 yards. Is he the guy that's going to be the answer in the Pittsburgh world? Is Mike Tomlin on the hot seat? Sure looked like it on the sideline the way he was acting. Is the offensive coordinator not give a damn about other people reading his lips and getting the play calls? Who knows? Is Dak Prescott finally Dak Prescott? That's what a lot of other shows are talking about this morning. Has Dak Prescott finally came back down to earth after his hot start against 3 terrible football teams? Is Jerry Jones going to slide into Dak Prescott's agent and say, hey, excuse me, you want to negotiate that contract? You think maybe let another couple games slide there with Kellen Moore, the 12-year-old offensive coordinator? You want to continue to play terrible football again just like you did the first couple of years, or you want to get this deal done now? You want to take quick $40 million, or you want to hold off and hope that you can play football good again? And Dak Prescott says, I'm betting on me, just like Joe Flacco. I assume he's going to come back. I think he's going to play well. That Saints team is difficult. We got a lot to talk about. There's 3 undefeated teams left. Who's going to lose first? I asked the people. Is it going to be the Chiefs, the Patriots, or the 49ers? Poll the people on the Twitter. I can't wait to tell you about that answer. Also, the Minnesota Vikings seem to be crumbling. I don't like it because I like Minneapolis, Minnesota! But I think I might be the reason why it's happening. Also, Alberto Riveron, you're on the hot seat. I got something for your ass today. Speaking of your ass today, Boxy, play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice. Thank you so much for that. He's on tour. Go check him out. We are back in Indianapolis, Indiana. All the boys are here. Nick's here. Diggs is here. Todd's here. Ty's here. Zito's here. Foxy's here. And Gumpy's on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. We might get to some calls if they work. Apparently, Westwood One has been in here reconfiguring the studio the last couple of days. Who knows if it'll work? Ty, what are the percentages that any of this will work today?
Less than 10%.
Nice. So let's assume we won't get to the phone calls. But if you're on the line, we appreciate you so much. Josh and Richie are already on there. We'll talk a little bit if we can. I have something to say about Alberto Riveron. Old Al Riveron, the senior guy for officiating, whatever it is. He took Dean Blandino's spot. And just yesterday, Vontaze Burfict was officially suspended for the rest of the year due to there being no mitigating possible for his hit, which basically means, Todd,
That means shut up, you have no defense.
So basically, the NFL, who deals with these suspensions and things like this, whenever you get fined for a hit or suspended for a hit, there's always a call where the player can call in and say, hey, I was meaning to do this. This happened. You could see how his level was dropped, just like on the Josh Allen thing with the Patriots. I assume Jones called and he was like, well, he dropped down a little bit. In the NFL, will go, okay, you're right. We'll cut your fine in half. Okay, you're right. We'll completely eliminate your fine. Oh, we see where you're coming from. We won't suspend you for this long. In this particular case, they said, listen, Vontaze, we've had this conversation 12 times before. And in this particular case, there is zero mitigating circumstances here. It is very obvious that you did everything you could do to potentially hurt Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle, in response, in a very Jack Doyle fashion, said he feels like he's missing something. He feels like he just got tackled. That means he hasn't watched film yet because Vontaze was obviously trying to spear the top of his head. He was utilizing his helmet as a weapon, which, by the way, just 10 years ago, very standard practice for a linebacker in the NFL. It was very normal for linebackers to want to headhunt, very normal for defensive players, including safeties and others, to want to utilize their helmet as a weapon. They've been taught since they were a kid, put your helmet on the ball, put your helmet here, duck your head down, make a big play. These types of massive hits back in the day, just 10 years ago, were celebrated. Whenever you go into a commercial break, the only thing they would show is the massive hit, the decleating, the, oh my God, that guy, you got knocked out. That was a real thing that used to be marketed in the game.
Yeah.
Then Will Smith became a doctor from South Africa.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Went to Pittsburgh, started doing these studies on bodies, and he found out that CTE is a real thing. Then we started seeing these things with older players where problems were happening if they just so happen to have plenty of concussions. And there's people that say, no, it's not even a real thing. That's not a real thing. Most of those people are 32 billionaires that own NFL teams that are saying, no, that's not real. Mike Webster was found under a bridge, who was an incredible football player, even though they came out that his brain had all these different circumstances due to massive collisions and things like that happened in a football game. So the game started to change a little bit. The NFL didn't want to change the game. They loved the game the way it was. There's some old heads that say, don't change football. Football is our only sanctity in this world. They said, no, we have to, due to the overwhelming stats that are coming out about the players and their brains, which are the most important part of your bodies. So they started changing the game. No more of this. There's a strike zone. You can hit from the shoulder pads to the knees, basically, everywhere in between. You can't lead with your helmet. You can't spear with your helmet. You can use your shoulder pad. We have to use heads-up football. They started an entire new campaign for younger football players. It's called Heads Up Football. USA Football will be promoting this. The next generation of football players won't be dealing with the same problems as the professional athletes that were currently in the NFL while the rules were changing, who were struggling with the change, by the way, because they played football the same way for 25, 30 years of their life, flying around, throwing their head into everything that they could. Vontaze Burfict couldn't adjust. Vontaze Burfict has obviously decided that he hates the rules change. He's a throwback football player, some people were saying. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of throwback things in this country that we've learned. Not great. Not great.
We leave those out of Throwback Thursday.
They say he's a throwback football player. He's a tough football player. But if you listen to any former player that is currently on television talking, not that you should listen to those people because they were put in a position to speak about the game, but I think this is one of the first times where universally ex-players have all said, yeah, get this guy the hell out of the game. If you can't adjust to the rules, get this guy the hell out of the game. Vontaze Burfict can't adjust to the rules that there's a strike zone. You can't be using your head as a weapon, not only for other players, but also for yourself, Vontaze. Like, people are trying to look out for Vontaze because when you put your head down and you spear somebody with the top of your helmet, there's a chance that you yourself end up in a bad situation. That is also something that people have to look out for. So the NFL's rules continue to change to help keep players' safety, all that stuff. Now, granted, you still play on Thursday Night Football. So, I mean, is that up for debate? It is. There's one human, though, who refuses to adapt to the new rules. There is one human who is in a position of power that sees a new rule and says, to hell with it. I'm not going to do it. Vontaze Burfict did the same exact thing, got suspended for a year. Why is Alberto Riveron not suspended for the rest of the year? Why is Alberto Riveron sitting in his little castle in New York with the hundreds of TVs around, who people have to call him? The refs on the field have zero say in anything. They call Alberto Riveron. He goes through the video. They call him back, like, up, go back. Yeah, that was a push-off on the Pittsburgh Steelers last night. Even though the entire internet, even though the commentators, even though that dud that's in the Monday Night Football booth, John Perry, who was an incredible referee, they all looked at the review and they said that was definitely not a push-off by the Pittsburgh Steelers. This should get overturned as a non-pass interference call. Mike Tomlin, good idea to challenge this. Alberto Riveron, though, goes, nah, we got to stick by it. We are not going to make the on-field officials look bad. We are not going to take a call that used to be a judgment call and make it a reviewable call. We are going to make this as difficult as possible for the NFL to overturn pass interference calls, which are, by the way, some of the biggest penalties in the game. The Baltimore Ravens back in the day with Joe Flacco, that was their entire offense for a while. Pass interferences are a massive call, and Alberto Riveron refuses to adapt to the new rules. It's obvious that he's taking a stand against the pass interference being reviewable. It's obvious that he doesn't want to make the on-field refs look bad at all in these particular situations. And to me, it's obvious that he is hurting the game. Alberto Riveron is hurting the game of football more than Vontaze Burfict hurt the game of football. Alberto Riveron needs to be kicked out of the league, Doug. Need to kick him out of the league. It is such a joke. It really is the case. It's so obvious. I think my brother did some research. There's only been 4 overturns, I guess, of the pass interference calls, and over I think 18 or 20 reviews of it. But everyone that's on primetime television, everybody watching at home is like, "Yep, the Packers game. Yep, that's definitely pass interference." Alberto Riveron gets on the horn. Nah. What you call? You said it wasn't? Yeah, I'm on your side, dog. Like, I would like to get the copy. Everybody wants to hear the copy of the Ukrainian call with the president. I want to hear the copy of Alberto Riveron talking to the refs every single game that's on primetime television.
awesome.
I want to hear Alberto Riveron saying, "What you call?" "Well, we thought it was pass interference, but we're watching this alongside of you. I think we probably got it wrong." But no, you didn't. And I wonder if the on-field ref's like, "Well, what's everybody else saying? What's the commentator saying?" "Well, they're saying you're wrong too, but you're not." Alberto Riveron taking a stand for him. I hate it. I think the NFL actually tried to make the game better with these pass interference reviewable. I think they tried to make it a more, accurate game because there's so much money on the line now with these games. We need these calls to be accurate, especially when pass interference is such a big one. And Alberto Riveron in New York City refuses to adapt to the new style of football. Vontaze Burfict couldn't adapt, suspended for a year. Alberto Riveron refusing to adapt. It is very obvious to everybody. Not many things on the internet are universally agreed upon. Last night, the Pittsburgh Steelers push-off, that wasn't a push-off, was universally agreed upon except for Alberto Riveron. And that makes me think a little bit deeper about this. Anytime there's a new rule that is put into place, there's a owner's vote. So obviously with the Roby Coleman pass interference in New Orleans that wasn't called because the ref that was standing right by there was potentially from Los Angeles, was optically is not great, but I mean, that caused quite a scene down there in New Orleans. They're still talking about it to this day down there. The NFL had to change the rules. They're like, listen, if something happens like this, we have to be able to fix it, especially with the technology that we have. So the owners say, hey, pass interference is now a reviewable thing. Let's take a vote. Raise your hand if yay, you're in. 31 teams went yay. 1 team went nay. Do you know who that 1 team was?
Huh.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Classic Bengals.
So last night, when that push-off is called on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Mike Tomlin reviews it against the Cincinnati Bengals, I would like to know if Alberto Riveron on the horn to the ref on the field said, what did you think it was? Well, I think it was a push-off. Well, everybody on the internet and our eyes, now that we're watching the review, say it's definitely not a push-off. And Alberto Riveron goes, well, let's remember now, the Bengals were on our side in this whole thing. Let's go ahead and uphold this thing. I just think Alberto Riveron's cooking the book somehow. I think he refuses to adjust, and I just don't like the way it's operating.
He's judge, jury, and executioner. I think the ref on the field, who goes under the hood, technically, whatever, should have a vote. Al should have a vote, and then they should bring in a third guy to have a vote. So majority rules as far as the call goes.
Why can't they just put the internet as one of the votes too? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like have a running poll there on the side.
that.
Like let's hear what the internet thinks, and then all the big fan bases just win over the game. Then you really do, by the way, have home field advantage, and if you have a big fan base, you're winning games over other people.
Why is it necessary to give him a vote anyway?
Alberto?
Yeah.
He's everything.
I know he's like the head, but I mean, is it just because he's been there so long? Like, what makes him, like the utmost authority on this stuff as opposed to guys on the field?
I don't know, but when I say this, I mean this. I don't like Alberto Riveron. I don't like the way he's operating.
Couldn't tell.
I just don't like him.
He's a bully. He's making all the coaches flag shy.
I mean, look at the guy.
It's like, dude, you don't make the rules, bro. You enforce them. Okay? Yeah. This is just like police officers that go off on their own thing.
We're not Congress.
Yeah, listen,
we don't let cops be Congress.
Yeah, we enforce the rules. Hey, listen, we don't make the rules, we just enforce them. Classic ref line. Listen, we don't make the rules. Don't shoot the messenger. That's what you are, Alberto. Just make the right damn call, especially whenever we have 45 different angles in slow motion proving that the thing's wrong. Let it change, Alberto. Adapt to the game or get left behind. You either get on the train or you're laying on the tracks getting run over. Choo-choo, Alberto. Get on the suspension train like Vontaze Burfict. Woo! We got to get to a break.
Adapt or die.
I hate Alberto. I don't like him.
With good reason.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
bully.
Like, listen, we understand you might not like the rules because it's taking away the judgment calls from the referees that you guys so pride yourselves on. But the reason why we're doing this is because you guys couldn't get them right in massive moments. We're trying to help you out, Alberto. We're trying to help you out, Mr. Riveron.
Yeah.
And you refuse the help. And now you just look like a damn ass clown. You look like a damn ass clown. You look like a
stooge and sellout.
Alberto Riveron is public enemy number 1 to this show.
Oh,
He's holding back the game.
he's our Dillinger. I like it.
He's the throwback ref. It's 10:15. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Everybody knows that DAZN is your home for the Pat McAfee Show daily. Everybody knows that DAZN is your home for the most incredible mixed martial arts on the earth. And also, everybody knows that DAZN is the home for this weekend's matchup from Madison Square Garden in the city that never sleeps, New York City, with a fighter that everybody knows by 3 letters. Ladies and gentlemen, Triple G is about to ball out this weekend in Madison Square Garden.
And a right hand over the top. That hook landed, and down goes Holmes in a heap.
Oscar De La Hoya tweeted after the fight, nice, with the thumbs up emoji. A comeback win, now fight a real fighter, win a belt, and I'll consider doing a 3rd fight. Hashtag Canelo is your boss.
He talks too much.
Right now, he's moving on with his life and fighting the best middleweight in the world available to him.
This is not game. This is a real fight.
Triple G versus Divyazhenko. IBF Middleweight Championship this Saturday, October 5th. It's fight season on DAZN. Derevyanchenko. Is that accurate? Derevyanchenko?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Is the Australian guy going to watch the fight?
Well, it depends if I can get down to Madison Square Garden in time. You know, I mean, you're walking around there. You're lucky if you don't get your throat slashed. You got to step over some bum who's, you know, laying in a pool of his own urine and feces. Outside of that, though, New York, epicenter of the world. I love it. Great city.
Don, take it easy back here. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, 10:20 here on October 1st, 2019. First 15 minutes of the show is me dedicated to how bad I hate Alberto Rivera.
Loved it. Loved every second of it.
I don't like the way he's handling himself in his position. He has a lot of power. Those challenge flags are real things. Under 2 minutes, he's the one who has to call it down. I just don't like the fact that they're abusing their power just strictly to take a stand against a rule that has been enforced way over your head, Alberto. By the way, way over your head, Alberto. You just sit there and make the stupid call you're supposed to make, Alberto. I'm sick of you trying to hold the game back. This isn't the Arc Age. This isn't back in the day, Alberto. This is a new football with new technology, trying to make things better because you and your Foot Locker friends couldn't get things right at the beginning.
And I thought it was quite genius that you tied it in to Vontez. If he can't follow the rules, he's suspended for a year. If Alberto can't follow the rules,
suspend him for a year.
get him out.
Get him out of there. There's people that are dying to have Vontez Burfict's job. This is something that's always said in NFL locker rooms. It's like, hey, you know how many people want your job? Everybody wants your job. So you either buy in, you get out. I'd argue nobody wants Alberto's job, but I'm sure there's some loser out there that would love to have that gig. If you don't want it, Alberto, keep it moving.
I'd do it.
They should have Gene Steratore in there.
Oh, he's the best.
Paisan Gene from Pittsburgh. It was obviously a push-off. I wish they would have filmed that stuff, though, those conversations between them and the ref, because that is quite a talking point that has happened. When this pass interference review came to be, it was something that everybody was excited about. It's like, oh, this is going to – old heads are like, oh, it's going to hurt the game. It's going to slow down the game. And Alberto listened to just those people. And everybody else was like, it makes sense. That probably should be smart. Another rule I'd like to see changed before we move on to the Minnesota Vikings turn their back on that nerd Kirk Cousins. By the way, I'm just firing shots.
I love this.
What is it? Tuesday. I'm a little tired of this.
The best.
He is, though. He is.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Nerd. He is. He's just not one of us. He's not one of us, but he's incredibly wealthy. He had some good football, I guess, when he played in Michigan State and stuff like that. He won some games, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't watch. Dr. Larry Nassar was there. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff.
Good on you.
Thank you. I refuse
for
to watch.
boycotting them.
That's what I did. And I forget what I was going to say there, but let's just get back to the Minnesota Vikings. They're turning on Kirk Cousins. They are turning on Kirk Cousins. And I wonder if it is our fault. There are numerous members of the Minnesota Vikings that listen to our show. We've been told that both in private and public, that our show every once in a while is aired inside the Vikings locker room. And there for a long time, I feel like I'm a stern but fair guy. I like to give people an opportunity. I like to give people a chance. I gave Kirk Cousins a lot of opportunity and a lot of chances. I said, you know what? This guy last year didn't perform well. A lot of injuries, though. Maybe it's not his style. Who knows? Let's go. But after watching Kirk Cousins, and then once you read the stats of how he performs in big-time games, and then you see how he handled himself off the field, and then you see how he plays football on a weekly basis, it's very easy to say that Kirk Cousins is holding that Minnesota Vikings team back immensely, and he was paid $84 million for it. So I finally couldn't take it anymore. I turned my nice guy filter off one time, and I said, Kirk Cousins
stinks.
That's what I said. Do I feel bad? Yeah, because he's probably working really hard. He's trying to earn that cash that they're paying him. He's making $20-some million just next year. I mean, he's trying his best. So I always try to side with the player because I'm like, you know what? This guy, he's trying his best. So whenever I let that out, I kind of felt bad. I meant it.
Yeah.
I meant it.
You didn't want to have to say it.
I didn't want to have to say it, but somebody had to finally say it. And a lot of people were saying it, but I think me saying it, it's a little bit more because I'm usually just super, on the side of the player trying his best. This guy is just trying to make a living. It's not his fault that he's absolutely garbage in primetime. It's not his fault that they cut Case Keenum, got rid of Case Keenum after the Minneapolis Miracle, who's gone on to the Redskins organization, which is the most dysfunctional organization in the history of professional sports possibly. And they bring this guy in who says, you like that, to be their savior. All of a sudden, Zimmer's got a team. They're in a good spot. But really, he has been dog grumpy awful over there. So I finally let it slip out. That was like a week and a half ago. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, inside the locker room starts turning on old Kirk Cousins. Even Zimmer starts turning on Kirk Cousins. He's like, He's just got to pull the trigger, man. It's just to the point where this guy's got to throw the ball. Adam Thielen said, you're not just going to be able to run against everybody. You got to be able to be a diverse offense, basically. Then he had to come back and say, I'm talking in general terms, which he is right, by the way. He is talking in general terms, but everybody knew what he was referring to. And Adam Thielen's one of the most competitive humans I've ever been around. To be a guy who's undrafted, have to go to a regional workout to do this, to this, to this, to get to where you're from. You have to be one of the most competitive people. You have to have a chip on your shoulder. So when things aren't going right, you can assume that he's going to be a bit emotional about it and let some things out, which he did. But he had to come out and apologize for. But I'm wondering if I gave them the green light, Coach Zimmer and Thielen, I gave them the green light, be like, yo, I'm a pretty patient guy too. If I were you guys, I think it's time to just let it eat. That $84 million man who seemed to have robbed the Minnesota Vikings of their salary cap stinks. And now they're just letting it fly, dude.
I saw a great line on the internet last night, and it is that Kirk Cousins is Andy Dalton, but with a better agent.
Andy Dalton, when I say this, I mean this. I like Andy Dalton. I like him as a person. I like what he's done to the ginger community. I like the way he played football just a few years ago. I mean, 3 years ago, they won like 11 games straight. 3 or 4 years ago. The Cincinnati Bengals were a team that nobody talked about, mostly because their owner, the guy who voted against pass interference reviews, which potentially altered a call last night in the game because of Alberto Riveron. But he's this old school guy. They don't have an indoor facility. Their food's the worst in the country. Everything is bad there. Carson Palmer was literally going to retire. Then he had an entirely new career outside of there. Mike Brown gives a lot of chances to a lot of people, second chances. But, I mean, it's to the point where the Bengals were so good just a few years ago. And by so good, I mean they won a lot of games, but nobody ever talked about them because the city of Cincinnati doesn't get enough love for anything. The only thing you talk about with Cincinnati is what?
The
Skyline chili.
Exactly. What's the first thing you think of? Skyline chili, which is really just a gravy with some meat in it.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Diggs' opinion.
I mean, you know why no one talks about the Bengals on TV? They're the Bungles, and they stink.
Well,
and they'll find a way to blow it.
Yeah, but they stink now. Last night was embarrassing. I mean, imagine if Ben Roethlisberger is playing that game and not sitting on a sideline with an unplugged-in headset and his arm not wrapped around with his boot. Imagine if Ben Roethlisberger is playing in that actual game. And now, granted, Mason Rudolph might be the savior of this whole thing. But that Cincinnati Bengals team looked dejected. They look lost. They look like they're uninterested. And Andy Dalton just a few years ago was a good quarterback, Pro Bowl quarterback. Now, granted, 15 quarterbacks make the Pro Bowl, but still Andy Dalton was in the top 10, at least, of the NFL. Now they just look terrible. The Bengals look so bad. And you know who doesn't deserve it? The Cincinnati people. Cincinnatians don't deserve that. With that being said, I think you put Andy Dalton in a good team. I think he can perform well for you. I don't think he deserves big money, but I think Andy Dalton could play football good for you if he's in a good situation. That Bengals situation is just one that stinks. Kirk Cousins, I think he stinks no matter where he's at. And I think a lot of people were giving him credit because he was at the Redskins, which are such a terrible thing, and he was drafted behind RG3, so everybody was like, oh, if RG3 does bad, remember, we got this big hope from Michigan State there. Kirk Cousins, who's just been quiet, bided his time, waited his time, had a couple wins with the Redskins. Oh, my God, he's the savior. Minneapolis Miracle just happened. Let's go ahead and get that guy the hell out of here, and then let's get Kirk Cousins in here. He'll save us. And everybody's like, oh, he had a little rough start. He'll be back. I think Kirk Cousins has been given so many opportunities, and he just stinks flat out. But I think Andy Dalton could go win you a game if he was in a better situation.
If Andy and Kirk switch spots, Minnesota Vikings much better?
I think so.
Yeah, hands down.
I think so. I think Andy Dalton makes the Vikings better than Kirk Cousins does. And now that people are coming out against Kirk Cousins, by the way, and I don't have a lot of friends that are like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a special individual. I don't think Andrew Luck, probably pretty similar to Kirk Cousins if I had to guess. Andrew Luck is just an avatar of a man. Kirk Cousins is a little bit skinnier, a little bit nerdier. But those super intelligent humans, those super smart guys that are tough to talk to, whenever the whole world starts coming after you, I don't think they're like, I don't think that's when they shine. I think it's a complete opposite. Like the Vikings could potentially curl into a shell here and go in the opposite directions, all because of Kirk Cousins. Now, granted, you still have Dalvin Cook, who's a superstar of a running back. You have a lot of weapons, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, great players. So that's why I think everybody's getting impatient with this whole Kirk Cousins thing. But I'll be excited to see how he reacts to not only his coach and his teammates turning against him, but I think maybe all of Minnesota's potentially turned against the guy, just like Chicago turned against Mitchell Trubisky.
We did not.
Zito, on the show yesterday, I said that when Mitchell Trubisky got hurt It was a sigh of relief for all of Chicago because they don't have to fake like him anymore. They don't have to fake support him anymore. They don't have to be like, yeah, this is our guy that's going to lead us to the promised land. They don't have to be like, you know what, our Bears defense, people are comparing it to some of the greatest defenses of all time. Even though the Patriots defense is not getting talked about enough this year, the Bears defense is winning the Chicago Bears team games.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't waste it on Mitchell Trubisky is the thought that's happening in every Bears fan's mind. They're like, listen, Mitchell, we love you, but you can't. Like Cody Parkey last year blew it for that team. Everybody says it. Now, granted, 1/8 of an inch, it got blocked. That goes in. He's a hero. It's the opposite direction. But this year, with the way the Bears defense is performing, everybody in Chicago is like, oh, we got a good one. We got a good one. We got a good one. Let's not let Mitchell ruin it. And Mitchell gets hurt, partially torn labrum, dislocated shoulder. Chase Daniel comes in, does the job, gets a win. And you said on the plane yesterday, after going to bat on the radio yesterday, you were like, I love Mitchell Trubisky. He's our guy. Happy he scored tutty, you said. He sounded like a 12-year-old. He couldn't even put sentences together. And on the plane yesterday, you said, I said, you're telling me that whenever Mitch gets healthy and Chase Daniel has a couple wins under his belt, you're going to be happy whenever they pull Chase and put Mitch in? And you go, whoever Matt Nagy tells me is our quarterback is our quarterback.
There's a reason why he's in power, right? That's why he's getting paid. So you got to trust his opinion no matter what.
But that's what I'm saying about the Chicago Bears fans. You were waiting for something to happen to Mitchell Trubisky. Something happened. Either Mitchell Trubisky was going to get incredible at football all of a sudden, he was going to get terrible at football all of a sudden, but a decision was made for Bears fans that they no longer have to fake support Mitchell Trubisky. And if Chase Daniel comes in and does well or bad, it's good for Bears fans regardless.
It's like when you're in a relationship too long and but you're afraid to break up with that person. You're like, and then finally they do, and you're like, oh, yeah, that really sucks.
That's the
Hate
greatest.
that, but secretly inside you're like, yes, you know.
Zito, you weren't a fan back then.
Shut up.
But this is very eerily similar to when Sexy Rexy Grossman was the quarterback and the defense was incredible and took them to a Super Bowl. They lost the Colts, but
yeah, Devin Hester took a kick back to the house.
Right on Vinny.
Right on Vinny, right past Vinny. You know, the opening kickoff for the Super Bowl, they're not good balls. So you don't really get a lot of depth on those kickoffs. So having to know that your kick, because that ball's going right to Canton, so it's not an actual K ball. It's a ball that's going straight to Canton. So it's like a brand new ball. So if I knew I had to kick off to Devin Hester, knowing that I have a terrible football that I'm about to kick, I'd be pooping my pants. I assume Vinatieri did. And then as he ran by me, I knew it. But this is Jack Del Rio had an interesting quote. Jack Del Rio, I don't know how people judge him in his coaching career. Probably not great.
Pretty average, I think.
He was my Senior Bowl coach whenever I played for the South team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, where I coached. He was a good guy. I enjoyed him. I thought he was likable. I think even watching him at Jacksonville and on TV, I think people would say he's a likable guy. He was at the Raiders there for a little bit, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think he's likable guy. Nobody really knows how great of I think people probably think he stinks as a head coach, but I mean, it's hard to be a head coach in the NFL if you don't have a quarterback. But he said just yesterday, I believe, the quote is
today, this morning, he said, I just think guys that are inaccurate tend to continue to be inaccurate.
And he was talking about Mitchell Trubisky in that case. He said, listen, inaccuracy is not something that you're just going to fix overnight. That's not just something that, you know what, I'm going to wake up today, I'm going to be an accurate quarterback. That's not something that happens. Mitchell Trubisky, it doesn't seem to be he's an accurate quarterback. And to play quarterback, I think one of the big things that you have to be is accurate. I think you have to get it at least in a window of where people can catch it.
Yeah.
And people on your team, you're hoping.
Right.
And I think Mitchell doesn't have that.
Well, he was overthrowing people. He was showing how good his arm is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's what it was. He wasn't underthrowing anybody.
No,
overthrowing.
Overthrowing.
Yeah. So now the injury, it's going to like set even, and now it's going to be dead on.
I do think
it's
left shoulder.
Yeah.
I do think the timing, though, of him getting a chance to sit back and watch Chase kind of maybe maneuver the offense, just like what Jacoby Brissett got to do with Andrew Luck. Jacoby got to watch Andrew Luck last year kind of be in the system, handle the meetings, kind of see what checks you can go to, where he should be looking, his eyes to this. And that might make Mitchell better at quarterback to be able to watch Chase here. Now, granted, nobody's saying Chase is an incredible quarterback. Nobody's like, hey, Chase is the guy. But I think getting to to kind of watch somebody else do your job and potentially do it better. You can learn from that, or worse, you can learn from that, which is why I thought Dwayne Haskins not being around Case Keenum was an issue there the first couple of weeks. But I think Chase could potentially help Mitchell more now playing than he ever could off the field. And hopefully Mitchell gets healthy. Hopefully he gets back into the thing. But, man, if Chase wins a couple games here, I don't know how Matt Nagy is going to be able to pull him out and put Mitchell back in, because all Mitchell's got to do is what? Throw one interception, throw a couple incompletions, and then the Cody Parkey treatment's going to be raining down up there in Soldier Field. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I think it's 10:35 here on October 1st, and we're going to get to a call on the other side.
Whoa. Imagine if the Bears would have drafted Mahomes or Watson instead of Trubisky.
Yeah, everyone's been talking about that. We're past it, Tony. What are you doing?
Oh, you're past it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it.
We're on Chase Daniel right now. Oakland Raiders.
I think that's tough.
What could have been?
That is tough. That's like the Jaguars drafted Brian Anger over Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
the punter. You know, Brian Anger has been on his third team now. He's down in Houston. Big old leg. But I think Russell Wilson, even though he's corny and cliche as hell, probably could have helped that defense down there in Jacksonville a little bit. Oh, that's tough. Deshaun Watson, Dabo Swinney was calling him Michael Jordan coming out, too. It wasn't like he was trying to lie to the Bears about how good he was. Then Patrick Mahomes, it wasn't like anybody was like, yo, this guy's a professional athlete. His dad's a professional athlete. He could have been this. It wasn't like anybody was like, yo, Patrick Mahomes not going to be good at football. The Bears were just like, you know what? This is our guy from North Carolina, Mitchell Trubisky.
North Carolina.
Come on and raise up. Throw some picks for us.
You understand Zeet's a UNC alum as well, so he holds a special place in his heart for Mitch.
What?
I took an online class there. I passed. So I'm an alum.
10:36. Dallas Cowboys conversation on the other side. I'm excited to think about Jerry Jones sliding into Dak Prescott's agent's office. Are you sure you don't want to negotiate that contract right now? Who they got, the Packers this weekend?
Yep.
Good defense, even though you can just run the ball all over them.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
That's not going to help Dak Prescott's case if they just feed Zeke the entire time.
Good pass defense.
Dak Prescott has 2 bad games in a row. Jerry Jones is going to sign him to a $5 million deal just purely out of fear. Or he gets back on the right side of things. Who knows? 10:37, we'll be back on the other side. You listen to the Deep McAfee Show.
Zone and MLB present Change Up, the live whip-around show that changes how you watch the ballgame.
Every night, this is going to be the place to be.
Jump in and out of the best plays as they happen with our team of incredible hosts.
What?
And big-name guests.
Hunter Pence, you've done work. That's right. Rags Electric Factory. Wait, it's time for Bat Flip, boss. We're whipping him around, baby. Whip it, whip it.
Live every night, only on DAZN.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 10:42 and 30 seconds. We just got a new clock in the studio. It's very nice. And I think it's on time. Our last clock was not on time, which is kind of a difficult thing for a time-keeping thing to not be on time. It is October 1st, 2019. Got a chance to look into Dak Prescott a little bit here. And this is an interesting phenomenon with Dak Prescott because everybody knew that this was his money year. Everybody knew that he and Zeke and Amari Cooper were looking for long-term contracts. Zeke said, you know what? I'm not even coming to training camp. I'm going to go down to Cabo. I'm going to have a good time. Let me know when you need me. I'm not playing football until you pay me. A la Le'Veon Bell did with Pittsburgh. A la Melvin Gordon did with the Chargers. But for Zeke, it actually worked because Jerry Jones, who was kind of playing hard to get there during training camp, talking about Ezekiel Elliott, came around to the thought like, yeah, we need Zeke on our team. Dak Prescott, the entire training camp, had the mindset that this was his team. He was going to have to win games. There's no longer a man sitting in front of an oversized bowl with an oversized spoon feeding himself every single game. You can't just turn around and feed the ball to Zeke was the thought in training camp because we don't know if we're going to be able to get his ass off the beach of Cabo. We don't know if Jerry Jones is going to negotiate a long-term deal with him. We don't know. So Dak and Kellen Moore went to work this offseason. Matt Hasselbeck said, well, other quarterbacks were filming commercials. Well, other quarterbacks were doing whatever they were doing. Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore just went to work. Dak Prescott said, if the Dallas Cowboys need to win games strictly because of me, we'll be able to win games. First game against the New York Giants, came out guns a-blazing. 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns against the New York Giants. Everybody said, wait a minute, is this the new Dak Prescott? Did Dak Prescott trade his old self in for a new model and this is it? Or is this the Dak Prescott that realized that he might not have Ezekiel Elliott for the first couple weeks of the season because he's holding out and he needed to get better at football? Or was this Kellen Moore, the new young mastermind of the offense, designing plays that make Dak Prescott look like a superstar? They're like, we'll wait and see. Let's see the next week. Then Dak Prescott went down to Washington.
Good team.
Threw for 269 yards, 3 tutters, 1 interception, 123.5 rating, which nobody knows what that rating means. I have no clue what that means, but I would say if it's over 100, he had a great performance. Mm-hmm. I think we can all agree that we have no idea what those numbers are for. We have no idea what those numbers represent, but we do know that if it's over 100, the person done good. So now they're thinking, is this the new Dak Prescott? Is Kellen Moore the answer for why Dak Prescott is good? Is Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott the quarterback offensive coordinator pairing of the future of the Dallas Cowboys? Kellen Moore, I heard a story, actually got injured as the backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, broke his ankle. They refused to let him go, though, because they wanted him to be an offensive coordinator at some point. They wanted him to stick around in the Cowboys organization. And for the first 2 weeks, everybody was like, oh, smart move, Jerry Jones bringing this in. Smart move with Ezekiel Elliott going down to Cabo to make Dak Prescott a better football player. Then they go down to Miami. They play against Miami. He throws for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now we're down to a 91.4 rating. We don't know what these numbers mean, but we know it's no longer above 100, so it's probably not that great. People that judge quarterbacks say, oh, he only had a 91.4 passer rating. I'm like, well, that's only 8.6 away from 100. They're like, well, the top end is actually 158 point something. It's like, well, who made that number, and why is that the number we go by? They're like, well, it's just the case. But you see from week 1 now to week 3, there's a steady decline. Is Dak Prescott coming back down to earth? People were wondering after week 3. Then they play in New Orleans on Sunday Night Football against the Teddy Bridgewater-led New Orleans Saints. And everybody's like, this is going to be a test now. Down the Superdome. Loud environment. Whistle man's over there blowing his whistle right in your ear. And his whistle isn't an artificial whistle. It's just his 2 lips and his tongue. They got people in costumes that strolled off of Bourbon Street, blacked out of their minds, screaming and hollering for the New Orleans Saints. Who that? Who that? Who that? Hey, oh, who that? Hey. Cajuns don't speak great English. You can't really understand what they're saying. This is going to be a real test. Yeah, Zito's like a Cajun from Chicago. This is going to be a real test for Dak. Will his steady decline continue, they asked in New Orleans. Is Jerry Jones watched along? Is now the time for me to slide in there and offer him a new contract? Is he going to do well or is he going to do bad? And what he did in New Orleans? 223 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 73.2 rating. We don't know what those numbers stand for, but we do know 73.2 ain't cutting it. Yes, C's and D's get degrees, but that's on a 100 scale. This is a 153 scale. That's less than half. He played like garbage, everybody said. I mean, you don't have to be a quarterback expert to realize that coming out of the second half, into the second half, they ran with a little bit of tempo. He had a little bit of success, and then they went away from it, and that Saints defense stifled him and Kellen Moore. So now you have to wonder, is that Dak Prescott or is the week 1 Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott's looking in the mirror right now wondering, am I the New York Giants guy for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns? Or am I this guy at the Saints where I throw for 0 touchdowns and 1 interception? Dak Prescott has to realize I bet on myself going into this season as a money year. I want to earn a big contract. I want to do all these things. I did all this work in the offseason to become a better quarterback. But right now, a lot of people are wondering if I am. A lot of people are wondering if I am the future of this team, or can they just bring in another rookie quarterback that'll be able to feed Zeke, get the ball to Amari Cooper, that young, fast defense will be able to win games. I think that's the conversation that Dak Prescott's having with himself right now, and I think Dak Prescott has to realize that he's going into a Green Bay Packers team that has a good pass defense all of a sudden out of nowhere. This isn't the Packers team of old where you can just go in there and slice and dice that defense and just hope to keep up with Aaron Rodgers. This is a fully revamped defense. So if you're Dak Prescott, you have to wonder, did I blow $100 million in 3 weeks? That's a real question that you have to ask yourself if you're Dak. Did I blow $100 million in contracts from week 1 to week 4, now potentially into week 5 with the Packers? And that's what Jerry Jones is going to be wondering. That's what all of Dallas Cowboys Nation is going to be wondering. That's what everybody's going to be wondering around the league. Is Dak Prescott going to be a backup somewhere else or maybe a fill-in job somewhere else? Or is he going to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback of the future? We learn a lot this weekend, and we find out quickly the future of the Dallas Cowboys because they have a good team, just like the Chicago Bears. They have a good team finally. They're not going to let their quarterback mess that up. They're not going to let the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, mess that up. And I'm excited to see how Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore respond.
Fun fact, Dak Prescott 1-8 when Zeke is held under 75 yards.
Well, anytime you can get the run game going, that's obviously going to help your quarterback. I think that's something that's very interesting with a lot of offenses. I think Peyton Manning is really the only outlier. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher for like 10 years, it felt like, because the run game sets up the pass game. When you run to pass, it sets up everything. The New England Patriots do it. I mean, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, but if he doesn't have a good running back next to him, he's going to falter a little bit. That's why Sony Michel is so important. That's why in Buffalo, when they couldn't get it going, you saw their defense or their offense struggle a little bit because the run game helps the pass game, and running backs know that. That's why they're sitting out. Running backs are like, listen, we know we're important. We know we're helping you out, not just because we can pick up blocks that the offensive line miss, not just because you can check down to me as a safety valve, not just because of all these other things, but because if I'm running the ball well and they have to respect and honor the run, the pass game is going to open up. Dak Prescott needs that to happen this weekend against the Packers, which, by the way, Kellen Moore is probably having a deep conversation right now with Jerry Jones, and Jerry saying, this Packers defense, they can't stop the run. They can't stop a nosebleed on the ground. You need to feed Zeke, and we'll worry about Dak Prescott later, which, by the way, will help Dak Prescott because as they're feeding Zeke, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to be able to open up and pop a couple, and hopefully Dak will be able to do that for Dak Prescott's bank account because if not, if it goes the other way, I think we're going to slide into a rough couple games here for Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore as this very new, very young pairing that haven't been through war together.
Do you think if he, if Zeke just starts going off these next couple weeks and he kind of turns into more of a game manager, but he's still winning, that he'll still command the same amount of money, or do you think he has to go out and light it up?
So this is what happened. This is Dak's first couple years, right? Dak Prescott was a game manager, basically, which I don't think is a bad thing. A lot of people use game manager as a derogatory term. I don't think it is. I don't think being a game manager is bad. I like Alex Smith as a quarterback. Alex Smith, they always said, he's a game manager. He's not going to win it by himself, but he'll get you through a game. It's like, what quarterback wins a game all by himself anyways? I mean, aside from Peyton was probably the only one that was really winning games all by himself, if I had to guess. Now, granted, he had incredible weapons on offense. He had cool offensive line, didn't always show up. It wasn't always meant to take on different things, but they had a core group there that performed well. But Peyton was really the only one that put the entire team right on his shoulders. He decided when we ran. He decided when we threw. He decided when we practiced. He decided when we lift. He decided when I pooped. I mean, Peyton Manning made every decision for the team. So the fact that people call people game managers is a derogatory term when they say it. But in my eyes, it's not. You're being a smart quarterback. You're being an intelligent quarterback. You're utilizing the team that you have. And I don't think, though, if you are one of those game manager types where you're not hucking it 30, 40 times a game and succeeding, I don't think you should be guaranteed that upper echelon of cash. Like Pat Mahomes, they're saying he's going to get $200 million. And I think everybody would be like, warranted. I think everybody would be like absolutely warranted because he can flip a game on its head. He has a unique ability to do something with his arm and his brain and his athleticism that nobody else can do right now in the league. He's very Aaron Rodgers-esque. He was very, like, a lot of people are forgetting how athletic and how great of an arm Aaron Rodgers still has, but had a few years back whenever he was younger. He was elusive. He was able to make the deep ball throw. He's been able to do all these things. And McCarthy was a pretty creative play designer as well, just like Andy Reid is with Pat Mahomes. So I think if Dak Prescott, it becomes Zeke's team, which is what it would be, I think he has to take, he still gets good money, but I don't think it's that $200 million, $150 million thing. I think you can make a good living right there, by the way. If you're making $15 million a year, by the way, $16 million a year, you can make pretty good little living. I think that's generational wealth, by the way, and I think that's something that Dak should think about. But Dak isn't thinking anything about that right now. The only thing he's thinking is, I got to get back to the form that I had against the New York Giants defense. And if I ball out, I can get that money that everybody wants me to get, not that I want to get, that everybody is thinking that I want. Or it goes back to being Ezekiel Elliott's team, and you just kind of take a lower amount.
Even if he took $23 million a year, because he's looking for 33, because that's what Wentz got per year, and he's looking to beat that contract. But 23 million a year, not terrible either.
It's interesting, isn't it, whenever you start like putting perspective on things? Like when Andrew Luck was up, his contract was up, and I saw the way Andrew lived. He's kind of like a hipster guy, you know, rides his bike around, doesn't spend a lot of money. The only car he really drove was one that was given to him by a local dealership here. Like very conservative individual, didn't dress flashy, kind of dressed like old school actually. I was like, you know what? I think Andrew Luck might be the first guy that says, just protect me. Just give me less money, but the money has to go into the offensive line to protect me. Let's make the team better. Like all these other rookie quarterbacks that are able to build a team around them, have success, I would like to do that. I thought Andrew Luck was going to do that. Then I was told I was too naive, that I don't understand how the business works, because if Andrew Luck takes less money, the next quarterback has to take less money, and then the next quarterback has to take less money. And I was like, well, do you think Andrew Luck would do that? They said it doesn't matter what Andrew Luck thinks. And I'm like, well, does Andrew know that? I assume that same type of thing is going to happen with Dak, because he's America's team, America's franchise. He has to take big cash.
Sure.
But he's going to have to go out there and earn it. Right now, it looks like he's on a steady decline. It's going to have to go the other way. We'll be back on the other side with a phone call or two, maybe if it works. Some more conversation. You're the absolute greatest for listening. We can't thank you enough wherever you may be. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. We are very fortunate to live the life that we get to live right now. Whenever I was in this off season, flying around, shaking hands with executives from all over the place, a lot of ideas were pitched to me, and I said, yeah, we'll do it, just expecting the people to say, no, we don't want you to do that. Everybody said, yeah, let's do it. So what led from that is one of the most insane schedules in the history of scheduling, I think. And Evan Foxy catches the entire thing. I'm on a plane 4 times a week. I'm in Indianapolis 2 times a week. It's an insane life that we're enjoying the hell out of. Evan Foxy catches the entire thing. We have a vlog on our YouTube, youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. No big deal, 250-some thousand subscribers. No big deal, we're YouTubers. But the weekly vlog is one of my favorite things because I get to reminisce on the week that was. And our last week was insane.
mic for 15 seconds before I hit the anvil. I've been trying to time myself out for 15 seconds. I've never spoken for 15 seconds before. There's no chance. It's a new era for college football. All right, let's go. You're all badasses. Thank you all for your service. Have an incredible day out there. It's the safest place in America right now. Holy hell. All right, everybody smile. You're probably not supposed to. Hey, safe travels. We appreciate the hell out of all of you. Go kick ass. Hoo-ah. Hey, the best game in the history of the drumline is going to be today. You guys are going to steal the show and set it out. How's it going? My name's Pat. I swing a big hammer, and when I talk, people listen. A long fucking day. So I had to switch it to damn. When I get going like that, it really catches. Hey, big cold swing today, huh? Another week about to start, Foxy. Triple H texted me, said he enjoyed it. Nice. He said if anybody's making fun of you for the size of your hammer, just tell them it's not the size, it's how you swing it.
Not bad work there, Foxy. That was the Greek diplomat, by the way, that was landed there. Got yelled at a couple times for filming. My exact words were, I don't give a fuck. What's he going to do, kick us out of Greece? Cool. Ban me. Foxy, you were getting punked by that worker.
I'll never understand the don't film things in certain places because literally every single person in the world has a video camera in their pocket.
Don't film him. It's like, go fuck yourself. Attaboy, Dawn.
All that's on me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 11:01 here on October 1st, 2019. Normally, the second hour kicks off with our intro. Foxy was sleeping at the wheel. It's okay, because it's a beautiful day. Foxy's here, Zito's here, Ty's here, Todd's here, Diggs is here, Nick's here. Also, Gumpy from Canada is back there answering the phone calls, which I've been told work today, which we might get to. Also on the phone today at 11:15, in 14 minutes, the greatest wide receiver in the history of football, Jerry Rice, joins us promoting Rice-A-Roni.
Oh, it's delicious.
I'm not certain I've had Rice-A-Roni in some time, but Jerry Rice-A-Roni is a man that I cannot wait to talk about his life, football, the whole thing. Get his takes, by the way, on Alberto Riveron potentially rigging games now that he is the senior referee guy, whatever his title is. I led off today's show at 10 a.m. talking about how Alberto Riveron refuses to adjust to the new rules of the game. Just like Vontez Burfict refused to adjust to the new rules of the game. Vontez Burfict, oh, he's a throwback. He's playing smash mouth football. Well, stats have shown us, science has shown us, studies have shown us that that particular style of football is terrible for humans' futures. So we've adjusted the rules. We've adjusted the game. There's now a strike zone. You can't use your helmet as a weapon anymore. You can't attempt to spear people, not only for the other people's safety, but for your own, for Vontez Burfict's safety, so that he doesn't end up paralyzed or with CTE in the future. They've tried to adjust the game. Vontez Burfict has refused to adjust to the new rules. Any ex-player that talks on TV or in the microphones, almost everybody, has agreed that there's no place in the league for Vontez Burfict anymore. If you don't want to get with it, get out of it. If you don't want to adjust and potentially look out for the other people that are playing on the field with you, the other people who are trying to make a living, the other people who have families to feed, the other people who are just trying to have a career, and you're trying to take them out of games because you're tougher than everybody, which, by the way, nobody has ever questioned Vontez Burfict's toughness. Nobody's ever questioned whether or not he's a good football player. The only thing we've ever questioned is, does he have a single brain cell in his head that he can adjust to the game? There's new rules for a reason, and no one's above it. No one is above the new rules that the NFL has placed. No one is above the game. No one is above the shield. That's why Vontez Burfict was suspended for a year, because they said there's no mitigating circumstances in this particular case. There's no call that he can have with the NFL to explain why he did what he did. This was 100% on purpose. He was attempting to spear Jack Doyle in the head. We could assume trying to cause bodily harm to Jack Doyle, which 10 years ago was something that was promoted in the NFL. 10 years ago was something that was highlight reel worthy. 10 years ago, it was a segment on Monday Night Football called You Got Jacked Up. 10 years ago, it was something that everybody loved. But Will Smith came from South Africa, became a doctor in Pittsburgh, discovered something called CTE. So now the game has changed, and Vontez Burfict has refused to change with the game, has chosen not to adapt. So he's suspended for a year. At least. His contract was only 1 year. We'll see if anybody else signs him. I'd assume not, because there's been a lot of public outcry to get the guy out of the league. But he's been suspended for a year because he refuses to adapt to the game. I argue this. Alberto Riveron refuses to adapt to the game. Alberto Riveron is in charge of overturning calls. He's in charge of the challenges. He's in charge of the way refs handle situations. He's the guy that they call in New York whenever reviews happen. He is the guy that is speaking for all refs, and he ultimately is the guy who is refusing to change with the pass interference review rules. We saw it last night on Monday Night Football. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver was called for a push-off offensive pass interference. Mike Tomlin said, "We won't live in our fears."
Never does.
Mike Tomlin said, "The adjudicators need to take a relook at that." And he threw his flag onto the football field. They want to review, and the internet rarely agrees on things. The internet very rarely agrees on things. The internet is a place for disagreement. The internet is a place for conflict. The internet is a place for differing opinions to be showcased on a platform. Universally agreed, though, that the particular offensive pass interference that was called on the Steelers, after everybody watched the review, it was like, it's a terrible call. That's BS. That's not offensive pass interference. Joe Tessitore, Booger, that dud John Perry. He's not great on a microphone. He's a good football brain. I think he's actually a good ref. That's what happens. All these good refs are getting these TV gigs. So now we're stuck with the scraps. Now we're stuck with the people who just don't know how to call calls. Now we're stuck with the people who are just puppets, basically, to the maestro of Alberto Riveron. Everybody agreed. Everybody's like, nope, that is not offensive pass interference. Nope, that's obviously not the case. This is going to get overturned. This is why the rule was put in. This is the exact reason why, for whenever judgment calls by the referees who are making calls post-haste, who are making calls in impetuous fashion, who are making calls, judgment calls on the dime while players are getting faster, they're getting older and slower. The pass interference review was placed because of them potentially making mistakes. Let's help them out in the long haul. But Alberto Riveron refuses to to adapt to the game. He refuses to adapt to the pass interference review rules. He refuses to overturn these calls strictly because I think he thinks he's going to bat for the refs. I think he thinks he's sticking up for the refs on the field whenever he says, it's a judgment call, there's nothing you could do there. There is something you can do, Alberto. We actually made a rule for it. Somebody who's much more powerful than you, much more wealthier than you, much more important to the game than you, decided, yeah, this has to be something that we have to review because these are massive plays that cost a lot. And Alberto Riveron has refused to adapt to the rules. He has refused to say, yep, the refs on the field made a mistake on this judgment call. Let's go ahead and pick up the flag. It wasn't a penalty. Or he's refused to say, yep, they missed this one. Let's throw a flag, pass interference, let's move it forward. Alberto Riveron, just like Vontez Burfict, has refused to adapt to the new rules, has refused to adapt to the new game, and Alberto Riveron should be suspended for the rest of the year. Get him out of the league, Doug.
He needs repercussions. I think maybe you give Vontez Burfict a job. Every time Riveron blows a review, we let him get speared by Vontez Burfict in his little booth in New York.
I like that. He'll wear a white hat.
Helmet to dumb head.
It is interesting. I understand that refs, it is not a fun job. It is not a desirable job. Just like officers of the law, Todd was a cop for 21 years. It's not a job that you want. It's not a job that people are begging to have. It takes a special individual to be a referee. But when we have the technology to help out the refs on the field, and then the head ref is refusing to utilize that to help out the refs. I mean, who's burying who here? I think Alberto's hurting the refs more than he's helping the refs. I think Foot Locker refs are even upset with the way Alberto's running this whole thing.
Well, he's power hungry, and he gets his commands from Goodell. And Goodell, when the suspension thing first happened, and he was judge, jury, executioner on the suspensions and overturning them, he never once overturned one of those either. So I think Riveron's got a little bit of that to begin with this. That he's power hungry and he doesn't want to turn anything over.
When I say this, I mean this. I think Alberto Riveron is an ass clown. It's 11:09, October 1st, 2019. I don't like him. I just don't like him.
I like that you're using ass clown though.
I'm allowed to use it.
Yeah, we workshopped it.
Yeah, we word shopped. Zito would say.
Yes.
We word shopped upstairs. Ass clown is allowed to be said. I just don't like it. It's like that. Last night was the perfect example of a call that got reviewed and should have got overturned. Yeah. Let's progress the game. Instead of making it worse, let's progress the game with the technology that we have. Granted, I still think there should be somebody in the ref's ear who's up in a booth that doesn't make them have to walk over to go under the booth. These 80-year-olds have to walk 95 yards to get under the booth. I still think there should be somebody who's watching a TV or has all the access, all 22, and they go, hey, that wasn't offensive pass interference. Just go ahead and pick that up. And before they can even get the call out, they go, there is no flag for the play. Guy who's upstairs who actually just watched the camera in slow motion told us we were wrong. Put it back in the pocket, move forward. Instead, now we got power-hungry Alberto Riveron asking him what's going on. There's no recorded conversations happening there. And, I mean, I don't want to be the guy that says it, but the only team that voted against reviewing pass interference was the Cincinnati Bengals, and they reaped the benefit of it last night. When there wasn't a lot good that happened for the Bengals last night, that was one call that they reaped a little bit of benefit from because Mike Brown refuses to adjust just like Alberto Riveron.
And it made no difference either way. It was an incomplete pass.
Just come on, dude. I'm sick of it. 11:10, we got a break, and on the other side, Jerry Rice-A-Roni. I'm going to talk to him about I got some real questions for Jerry Rice-A-Roni.
Nice.
California passes that law where college athletes are allowed to make money off the field. Jerry Rice is basically the face of the NCAA propaganda about players not being allowed to make money and they should be getting their degrees. I'll be excited to see how he feels about that. And maybe I'm judging Jerry Rice-A-Roni a little bit too hard. Who knows? 11:11. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Jerry Rice-A-Roni. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, streaming worldwide, on DAZN. Massive fight this weekend on DAZN, by the way. Triple G's fighting some guy. I can't pronounce his last name. Anytime Triple G boxes, though, it's magical. The guy is a Bob Ross in the ring. He is a maestro with his fists. That's all I know. That's all I got. But I'll be there. Me and a couple of the boys will be there.
Nice.
Can't wait to watch that. Anytime I go to those boxing matches, I'm so intrigued by it all. Just the glamour. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of humans there. And then it's just two gladiators squaring into the ring there, trying to get a little leather on each other's faces. I don't get it. The amount of training that goes into one fight is insanity. Like, Triple G probably been training for, the last 6 weeks? Just like waking up 5 a.m., training every day.
It's crazy.
And he's going to put on a show this weekend. You have to watch it only on DAZN. I just went in on Alberto Riveron a little bit. Probably, no, it's warranted. It is absolutely warranted.
100.
The right amount.
It is, I think. I mean, Ascon's a little bit strong. I think that's the strongest we're allowed to say on the air. But I mean it. And before we get Jerry Rice here, who's calling in for Jerry Rice-A-Roni, he was supposed to be on a minute and a half ago. We'll just kind of wait it out for him. I want to revisit this poll that I put out today, because this does tie in to Jerry Rice a little bit. I polled the people on my Twitter earlier today. I said, of the undefeateds, who's going to be the first to lose? The question is the Chiefs, the Patriots, or the 49ers, who are undefeated and nobody ever talks about. Our show is on a Westwood One station in San Francisco. San Francisco is probably excited they got a good team again. Jimmy G's healthy. Jimmy G last year, 2 years ago, was undefeated as a starter. Everybody's like, oh my God, we got a guy. First game, he zigged instead of zagged, tore his ACL. Now all of a sudden, everything's off the tracks. This year, they're 3-0, undefeated alongside the Chiefs and Pats. So I did a poll, the people. Of the NFL undefeated, who loses first? We've gotten 20,000 votes, okay, in the first 2.5 hours here.
Good sample size.
Strong.
Which, by the way, I think is a pretty large. I think I see other people do polls. I'm not sure there's a lot there around 20,000. So thank you to everybody that participated in this. 84% say the 49ers are going to be the first to lose. 84% say the 49ers are going to lose. 8% for the Chiefs, 8% for New England, which is interesting because New England and the Chiefs were both very, very close to being knocked off this past weekend. Mm-hmm. The 49ers have played.
They have played a 31-17 win over Tampa Bay.
Okay.
41-17 win over Cincinnati, and a 24-20 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, so other than the Steelers, they've had and the Bengals, I guess, but the Tampa Bay win. Did you see Cincinnati?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's a bad football team. Andy Dalton doesn't deserve it either. But of the Tampa Bay win, I mean, that's a much better win now. Just like Daniel Jones and the New York Giants getting a win over Tampa Bay looks a lot better now because they beat the Rams. The New England and Chiefs teams, nobody thinks they're going to lose for a long time, which is probably smart because Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady. But I think a lot more respect needs to be shown to this 49ers team that's been able to figure it out. Oh, Shanahan over there with Jimmy G, who's dating porn stars, is really revamping the 49ers faithful, which is a massive fan base, which leads me to this. The man joining us now is the greatest wide receiver in the history of the game. He has finally partnered up with another San Francisco treat, Pasta and Rice-A-Roni. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who has caught all of the footballs that have ever been thrown his way for his entire life, Hall of Famer, 49er legend, Jerry Rice. Welcome to the show, Jerry.
Hey, thank you. How you doing?
Jerry, I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have partnered with Pasta and Rice-A-Roni. Two San Francisco treats have really come together in beautiful fashion. To see everything that's going on between Rice-A-Roni and Jerry Rice, go to GoTeamRice.com. They have a YouTube series featuring Jerry Rice. It's the Rice-A-Roni YouTube page. It's really incredible content. My first question is this, Jerry. Your name's Jerry Rice. They're Rice-A-Roni. You're both in San Francisco. How come Jerry Rice-A-Roni hasn't been something for a lot longer than just here in recent history?
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, has Jerry Rice-A-Roni been around a long time?
Yes, a long time. So I think it's perfect. The timing is good, and I'm thinking about changing my name to Rice Pasta-Roni too. What do you think about that?
I think it'd be committing to the brand. I think they would love it if you got introduced everywhere you want. Jerry Rice Impasta-Roni Sr. would be an incredible thing.
Hey, look, what are you thinking about? I mean, what do you think about tailgating, though?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of tailgating. I think.
Oh, you are? Okay. I like that.
Are you a big fan of tailgating?
Yes, I am. I like to think of myself as being an MVP.
Oh, is that right? You're an MVP of tailgating?
Yeah. But you know what I have came to the conclusion that tailgating is a little bit more difficult than catching a pass or a touchdown or something like that. But what I like about Rice-A-Roni is that they have a variety of flavors and stuff like that. And another thing too, when I played football, I used to have different go-to routes and stuff like that. Hey, think about this: jalapeno.
Oh,
that's my favorite, man.
A little spice in there, man. Get a little flavor on that.
Yeah, because I was spicy on the football field.
Speaking of spicy on the football field, the 49ers seem to have a team again that everybody can really believe in. Are you buying into what the 49ers are selling? Do you think Jimmy G's the truth and you like what Shanahan's doing?
I'm buying into it. You know, I think they're 3-0 right now. Got a good chance of going 4-0 against Cleveland. And Jimmy G, the most important thing is to keep him healthy. So that offensive line really got to protect him. They if they can continue to run the football and if they can cut down on the mistakes, I feel like this offense can be very explosive. Then we know about this defense. This defense is just amazing. You know, the pass rush and the players on defense, you know, is very exciting to see right now.
Yeah, it's good for the 49ers fans who have been around a long time. And if you're watching online, we're showing a bunch of clips of your catches. You were such a gifted ball catcher. And I say that in truth. It almost – do you have, like, the biggest hands in the history of Earth?
No, not at all. You know, it's like – but the thing about me is the route running, you know, the knowledge of the game. And – it was always that fear of failure that kept pushing me, and I didn't want you know, to really let my teammates down or the fans. So I just worked a little bit harder. You know, if I had a 2-hour practice, I would stay out and still catch more footballs and just work on my craft.
Okay, so right now there's a lot of big personalities at the wide receiver position. I assume that's been that way for eternity. Example, Odell Beckham, massive personality, very talented player, though. Antonio Brown, another guy, incredibly talented. They say he's the hardest working guy they've ever seen. To be a successful wide receiver, is work ethic one of the biggest traits that you have to have because everything's so minuscule and fine-tuned?
Okay, let's rewind just a little bit because I'm the hardest working wide receiver that ever played the game.
Woo!
Okay?
I like
but
that.
I understand what you're saying, and yeah, and I think you have to really you have to be one of those guys that's willing to sacrifice. And I remember when I first started, probably my first 5 to 8 years, I did not take a vacation or anything like that. Because I wanted to really just work on my craft, and I think that really just kept pushing me. And I was one of those guys too to never get complacent. You know, if I had a game where I had a 10 reception, 3 touchdowns, over 200-some yards, I wanted to come back the next week and have a better week. So you know, you got a lot of great receivers out there. I have to really give props to Larry Fitzgerald for what he was able to accomplish this past weekend by breaking Tony Gonzalez's record, and now he's number 2, and he has me looking over my shoulder a little bit. And we were joking around about that, but you know, the guy is ambassador for the NFL.
So if you're a wide receiver, and it seems to be a much more recent series of events here where if somebody isn't happy in their situation, they're going to force their way out. You obviously had some incredible quarterbacks that got through the ball to you. I think they would say they were lucky to have Jerry Rice on their team. How do you feel about this younger generation kind of utilizing their leverage in a lot different fashion than guys of the past? And how do you feel about guys kind of moving to different situations that might be more fortuitous to success for them?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of younger players control their own destiny now. You know, before it was the other way around. You know, the thing with Antonio Brown, I think he's a great football player. He wanted to go to the Patriots. he had to go a different route by going through Oakland. He didn't stay in Oakland that long, then went to the Patriots. And so, yeah, I think these players are just going to control their own destiny now.
Okay, speaking of players controlling their own destiny, in California, I don't know if that's where you still live or not, there was a law passed by, I guess, legislation. I don't know who did the laws. I should probably learn that better. But the NCAA players are now allowed to make money or benefit off of their name off of the field. You were a part of a big-time campaign with the NCAA talking about all the players that don't go on to get millions of dollars and things like that. How do you feel the future of the NCAA handles with this particular situation?
I just feel that, God, that's a tough one, but I think the most important thing is about education with the NCAA. That's the most important thing. And we just wanted to get that message out there that the most important thing is the education. And if you went on to play professional football, it was going to, open up so many doors and you were going to have so many opportunities. But the most important thing we wanted to point is you go to college to get your education.
I think that's a fair point. I'll be excited to see how that whole ruling happens in California. I don't think it comes to fruition until 2023, correct, I believe. Yep. So the whole world could be a different place by 2023, to be honest with you. Who are some young players that you watch that you think, you know what, that person has a chance to be incredible in the NFL?
God, there's a lot of young guys. Odell Beckham.
Oh yeah.
Julio Jones. I'm just going to go through some receivers. These guys, they're big guys. They can run. They can do everything. They can make one-handed catches. They can, just turn the game around in a split second. So the list just goes on and on. It's a whole different ball game now, though, guys. You got more of a run-pass option league, and when I played, the ball was being thrown deeper downfield. Now you're seeing all these little short passes. The players are protected more. You can't bump and run after 5 yards, so you're not going to see a lot of bump and run. When I played also going across the middle, you had defensive backs and also linebackers basically just trying to take your head off. So players are more protected, but yeah, we still got a great selection of guys.
Not when you're going against Vontez. I mean, Vontez Burfict will still do that. That's why he's been suspended for the rest of the year. Last question before we get going here. Do you hate or love Julian Edelman, the date of your daughter for prom?
Well, at that time, I don't even remember that. But I have to admit that he's doing a fantastic job with the Patriots, and I have ran into him several times, and I'm sure that team probably going to be in the hunt this year again to win another Super Bowl.
Well, I'm going to be in the hunt for some rice and pasta-roni for sure. I'm happy that they teamed up with a legend like yourself. The YouTube series, what are you guys doing? Everybody's saying that you need to check out the Rice-A-Roni YouTube page and see the Jerry Rice and Rice-A-Roni YouTube page.
Hey, it is so much fun, man, and I really got a chance to just have fun with it, show my own personality. And if you buy Rice-A-Roni or, Pasta-Roni or something like that, you can win prizes. You're going to see my face all in stores and all of that. And it's all about, fun. It's all fun, food, friends, and family. That's the most important thing. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah, maybe some football, too, there at the end if we're just going to do the 5 Fs. But, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest football players of all time, the greatest football catcher of all time, and now the endorser of a San Francisco treat. Ladies and gentlemen, big thanks to Jerry Rice and Pasta-Roni.
You got it. You killed it. Rice, Pasta-Roni.
Appreciate you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you did for the game, too, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one. That's intriguing. That he didn't even remember Julian Edelman taking his daughter.
Well, you block out the bad memories.
Who are you taking? Some white kid? I'm not about it. He's probably in the middle of his career, I'd assume, right? That's probably the time.
Yeah.
And all those Hall of Fame speeches, the one thing that is very regular in those Hall of Fame speeches is the Hall of Famers looking at their kids saying, I probably should have been a better parent for you. Because to really be a great football player, you have to dedicate a lot of things to it. It's just like everything in this world. If you really want to make it to the top, that rarefied air, to get to a place where you're considered great or elite, you have to dedicate a lot of time to it. It doesn't matter what your profession is. And in football, even if you're just kicking the ball, your entire life has to revolve around kicking the ball the best. His entire life had to revolve around catching balls better than everybody else, running routes better than everybody else. So the fact that he doesn't remember that is probably something I should have expected. But it is a real problem for football players, is you don't get a chance to see a lot of the other things that other dads get to see. Just the way it is.
Before the break, we were talking about undefeated teams that potentially lose first. I have the schedule for those 3 teams. Pats play the Redskins, the Giants, and the Jets. So probably not a loss there.
Daniel Jones, excuse me, Danny Dimes. That's the Patriots already got that one circled on the calendar. We don't know what's coming from Daniel Jones. Yes, Eli has beaten us a couple times in the Super Bowl. Yes, Eli has been a problem. He's old news. This new Duke-faced Daniel Jones is going to be a problem. Let's assume the Patriots don't get out of that one alive.
A lot of sleepless nights for Belichick over the Daniel Jones upcoming
and Tom Brady,
issue.
who doesn't even have to be on the field at the same time. He's scared to death of what Daniel Jones is.
49ers play the Browns, the Rams, and then the Redskins.
That could be tough. Is that in the dog pound or is that in San Fran?
No, that's a Monday night in San Fran.
Monday night prime time. When the lights come on, stars come out. A lot of stars in that Cleveland locker room. That's going to be a cool game to tell how both of those teams are, to be honest with you. I'll be excited to see if old Freddie Kitchens can get cooking and get Odell Beckham Jr. the ball. Who knows what's going to happen there. And
the Chiefs have the Colts, Texans, and Broncos.
Well, they're going to lose to the Colts. Jacoby Brissett not getting enough credit, by the way. Yes, they lost to the Raiders, which is a tough look. But I think Ebron had 7 drops.
Oh, yeah.
A couple other people. Chester Rogers had a couple drops who made a couple big plays, though. Jacoby Brissett has done nothing but perform very, very, very well.
Agreed.
The Raiders might have awoke a sleeping giant in Indianapolis. Primetime television, the Chiefs might have to learn the hard way that the horseshoe is back. Or they put up 105 points on primetime television, which is also possible. 11:33, we'll be back on the other side. Big thanks to Jerry Rice-A-Roni. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Oh, welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, 1138. I'm sure we'll have Jerry Rice on again.
We do a rice show.
You know what? I prefer Zatarain's rice anyway.
Whoa. Can't say that.
Hey, come on.
Hey, don't
Come
you
on.
ever think about coming after Rice and Pastoroni. Jerry Rice did a lot for the game. Very thankful for him. I was a Randy Moss guy growing up, but I like Jerry Rice. Thank you so much for coming on the show. That was very nice of him to join us. You're talking about a goat of all goats there. I mean, I thought maybe we'd get a little something out of him. Couldn't do it. That's on me. I'll review the film. I'll judge myself later while eating some rice-a-roni.
Well, he did drop that there is that new jalapeno cheddar flavor coming out.
Smart, by the way, because if I'm doing anything, if it's chips related, I'm going with the jalapeno. If I have a sandwich and I don't have jalapeno chips on there, I'm not eating it. You know what I mean? I like the jalapeno. I like to have a little spice because Jerry Rice was ricey spicy on the field. Everybody knows that.
No doubt.
What were you going to say, Diggs?
That was exactly going to say that.
All right, let's try this phone call, huh? How do we feel this is going to go?
We're good.
I'm optimistic.
We're good.
99% sure.
Is that Dawn? Is Dawn live on the air or is that just strictly in my ear?
All of our ears know. I got
I don't
Dawn
think it's on-
too.
I
don't think
Not on the air, but
I got Dawn.
Dawn, if you're going to speak to the crowd. Not on the air. We're on the air, though, Dawn. Talk to the people if you're going to talk. Dawn is a guy in Culver City who decides when or not we're in commercial break and we're live. He's been in Ty Schmidt's ear since day one. Great man, good man. I haven't been able to hear him, though, for the entire length of our show, so I have no idea if we're live or not. Ty just has to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Starting yesterday, Ty put this guy in my ear, so now I hear Dawn. Great voice, incredible voice, good man. But now he's just telling us all secrets and thing, and not everybody in radio is hearing that. I'm not talented enough to separate the two, Dawn. Dawn? Was that in my ear or was that live?
Just your ear.
I think that was just your ear.
Can
go live.
Forget it, Dawn. Everybody that's listening, know that whenever you get a peek behind the curtain for some things, just know that it's a complete cluster truck in most places. And Dawn has been the guy that has kind of held this together for us no matter where we're at. If we're in a box truck in New Orleans, box truck in Memphis, if we're live in studio here, live in studio somewhere else, Dawn is really the only constant for this whole thing. And I would like to let Dawn know I thank him. But if he's going to speak to the crowd. Don't just speak in my ear. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to RJ in RJ, what's going on?
What's up, bud?
He sounded terrible.
Yeah, good move.
I
Good
mean,
move.
we just can't. We can't
Underwater.
do what we're doing right there. I mean, RJ probably had something great to say. The tagline, the subject line was he doesn't think the Dolphins are the worst team in the NFL. I was excited to hear that. Who's he going to say? The Redskins? Probably accurate, but they can't hear you whenever you're calling us from an aquarium. Let's try another one here. Let's go to Scott in Houston. Scott, H-Town, Paul Wall's hometown. What's going on?
Hey, what it do? Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
He's sipping on that lean down there. It sounds like he's got a little slow-mo. Everything's good, though, Scott. How are you?
Negative. They don't even make that no more.
What do you want to talk about, dude?
Dude, I want to talk about the NBA refs having a point system. Why don't the NFL refs have a point system to be able to get to the championship games as well as the NBA refs, how they do it?
Scott, that's a great question. How come there isn't a point system for the NFL refs like there is the NBA refs? And let me tell you why. Tim Donaghy is the reason why. The guy from the NBA that was crooked, that was cooking the books. Whenever now he's on a vengeance tour, he was on a vengeance tour after he got out of jail, basically saying that he wasn't the only ref doing it. The NBA had to clean up their referee image by awarding these points. This person's good, this person's bad. This is why we're putting them in this situation. And every time you hear the NFL talk about NFL refs and commentators, they'll be like, this guy called 3 Super Bowls. They're like, this is Mike Carey. He's called 2 Super Bowls. And then we get a chance to watch Mike Carey operate through the review system through CBS, and we realize, oh, the NFL just puts terrible referees in to call the Super Bowls. They don't really care about any of that. But I assume that internally there is an entire ranking system. I would assume that Alberto Riveron is the one doing the judging, which, by the way, is the problem. Until Goodell gets in there and starts laying the hammer on these refs like he does on the players, we're never going to really see any type of action. And also, the Ed Hockley seed system isn't the only way to create NFL refs. There's no real path to become an NFL ref unless we get ex-players that want to do it, unless we get people that are very talented at this particular position, you're not going to see a lot of people want to be NFL refs because listen to what I'm doing today. Listen to what everybody's doing. I mean, it's very easy to blame them because they stink, but it's also very tough for you to want to become a person that wants that job that is just going to get crucified for whatever you do. You're not going to get a lot of praise. It's not going to be a job where you're going to be thanked. It's not going to be a job where they're going to be like, you know what, you're really good at what you do. That's not going to happen, even though it did happen for Hockey Lee and Steratore and others who just get poached from the TV networks and their life's a lot easier there. It's not easy to find good refs, just like it's not easy to find good cops. It's a very difficult thing to do these days, especially with the amount of attention now they're on these jobs.
Do you know who caught Donahue?
Who?
Vegas. So
this son of a bitch here. Every time he refs a game, something's up.
Because they were always, you know, you talked about it last week. They're always so right, and they were the first ones to notice every single game that he was doing that something weird was going on, and then Donahue was sending a guy to Vegas, put in his bets, blah blah blah. But
can't beat Vegas.
That's who originally
you
caught him.
can, but they're going to find out.
They're going to get you.
They are going to learn today. Speaking of the house and money, Jerry Jones is currently sitting in a prime position with the Dak Prescott situation. Dak Prescott came into this season wanting a brand new contract. Everybody knew about it. Everybody knew about it. It was reported everywhere. Ezekiel Elliott is choosing to stay in Cabo on vacation instead of reporting to training camp in hopes of a new contract. Also hoping for a new contract, Dak Prescott, who is at training camp. It was commented everywhere. Dak Prescott came out on fire. 400 yards, 4 tutters against the New York Giants defense that wasn't inspired by Daniel William Wallace-Jones just yet. Put up a massive performance. Everybody said Dak Prescott, Kellen Moore have pieced together an offense that make Dak Prescott an elite quarterback. He's going to get hundreds of millions of dollars. Jerry Jones, though, one of the greatest negotiators in the history of negotiating, said, we're not negotiating a contract just yet. We're going to let water find its level. We're going to let old Dak Prescott Dax it himself down to what he's normally going to play like, which is trash.
Say Dax it?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Dax it. That's exciting stuff whenever I can do that. Whenever I can add that in there, that is really what makes me a professional. But now Dak Prescott has been on this slide for the last 4 weeks since then. Now, granted, he wasn't going to be able to top that 404 touchdown, perfect passer rating game. He wasn't going to be able to keep that, but people were thinking he was at this new level. And after the Saints game, people were wondering, is Dak Prescott the same old Dak Prescott of the past? Are him and Kellen Moore not the pair that we all thought they were going to be? And Jerry Jones is wondering the same damn thing. Jerry Jones is like, now, wait a second, Dak. You're looking for $100-some million. You're going to have to play like $100-some million quarterback. Kellen Moore's going to have to dial up some plays and make you look good. And Dak is now looking in the mirror thinking to himself, am I going to get this massive contract with the way things are going? Nobody knows. Everybody on TV, the talking heads on television that we were watching this morning, a lot of people were saying, same old Dak. Dak's back to Dak. It always, people say the cream rises to the top and water finds its level. Everything kind of comes back to what it is. You are who we thought you were. That's what everybody on TV is saying. Dak Prescott's saying, don't give up on me yet. I put in a lot of work this offseason while other quarterbacks were filming commercials. Matt Hasselbeck said that, not me. I put in a lot of work with Kellen Moore. I knew that this team was going to have to rely on me performing well because Ezekiel Elliott was in Mexico training and tanning. I knew that I was going to have to be great early, and I'll still get back to that point. But if he doesn't, you can't help but wonder if Dak Prescott literally let $100-some million slip right out of his hands.
And this goes back to your point that you make all the time. Do you pay someone who is good, not great, $30 million when you could risk taking a rookie quarterback with all the other pieces that are on that Cowboys team?
Here's something interesting, too. Jerry Jones has been paying a lot of money to a lot of people. Jerry Jones is the one who negotiates the TV deals for the NFL. A large part of the salary cap is the TV rights deals. Jerry has been backloading a lot of these deals because the new salary cap is on its way, the new CBA is on its way, the new TV rights deal is on the way. I think Jerry is expecting a very large money for that deal, which means the salary cap goes up, which means Jerry would in fact have information that not a lot of other people would have. So whenever you watch him negotiating deals, you're like, oh, this salary cap's about to go through the roof. Dak Prescott, by the way, is also seeing that. Dak Prescott also knows that Jerry knows that, and he's seeing all these backloaded deals that he's making that are massive after the negotiations happen. So I think they know that there's a lot of money coming. But do you spend a lot of money on a quarterback that you don't know if he's going to be able to win a game by himself? Not that a lot of quarterbacks can. There's only a couple in the history of the game that could do that. Or do you know that this is Ezekiel Elliott's team? You know that it's a good defense. You know that it has a good offensive line. You let another rookie quarterback come in and see if he can figure it out and build up the team around him, a la the Seattle Seahawks when they had the Legion of Boom, a la the Los Angeles Rams whenever Jared Goff was on his rookie contract and they were built up a magical team around them. I think that might be the new blueprint for teams to be successful. The Kansas City Chiefs right now are doing it with Patrick Mahomes on a rookie contract, even though they're saying they're going to give him $200 million, so that entire team is going to look different. But if they can find people like Hardman and DeRobinson that can run 4.2s, I mean, it's going to be hard to stop them forever, no matter how much they pay whoever. But it is an interesting concept for Jerry Jones. That's going to be a big decision for him to make. He loves Dak. Dallas loves Dak. The Cowboys love Dak. Dak looked incredible early. Kellen Moore's offense looked magical. The Dallas Cowboys have been preparing for a Kellen Moore offense for a long time. But, man, if he's not doing something that is up to snuff, shall we say, will you just take a rookie and let him grow into it? I don't know. It's going to be a test for old Jerry Jones.
Also, a little caveat this weekend. Tyron Smith, his left tackle, is likely out with a high ankle sprain. They say he's the guy that really makes everything tick on the offensive line, so we'll see how Dak deals with that.
And the Packers, who they're playing this weekend, not great against the run, so you would think that they would be feeding Zeke. But if you're missing an offensive lineman, now you got to figure that out. Is Dak Prescott going to have to win this game against the Green Bay Packers? And is this the game that we'll look back and say this was the win that got Dak Prescott into the $100 million world? Or is this the game that sealed the deal for Dak Prescott not to get that elite contract? I think that's what's happening this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's happening.
It's a big game then.
It's a massive game for Dak Prescott. I think he and Kellen Moore both know it. Kellen Moore looks very young, but I think he's aging by the day, knowing the pressure that is on him, not just being an NFL offensive coordinator, but also your friend who's the quarterback has a lot riding on this. And Jerry Jones will say, we're riding with him. He's our guy. We love Dak Prescott. We love what he does. But Jerry Jones is also not offering him an extension just yet. He's going to let him see how he plays out, see how it all works, all the work in the offseason, see how it plays, and then he'll offer him a deal. I'm excited to see what happens with the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, the team that's forced down our throat every single day by shows like this and every other show. And it's finally a time to be good, though, because the Dallas Cowboys team is good. This is a good football team for the first time in a long time. They held that Saints team to only 12 points, 4 field goals. Even though Drew Brees isn't in, you still got Sean Payton calling the plays, who's one of the best offensive play callers in the history of the game. I think you can argue that because Drew Brees has all the records.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to stuff him. So the Dallas Cowboys fans think to themselves, hey, Dak, figure it out. We love you, but figure it out. Because the Chicago Bears fan base is wondering the same thing.
They're done.
I got a little heat for saying that Bears fans were happy that Mitchell Trubisky got hurt. Nobody's happy he got hurt, but they're happy about the situation of getting a chance to see another quarterback in there to see how he does, Chase Daniel, with that defense, with that team, with Matt Nagy's offense, by the way, who comes from the Andy Reid offense, which is the Chiefs offense, which has looked nothing like the Chiefs offense, the Chicago Bears offense. A lot of people are wondering, is Chase Daniel going to be successful in Chicago? And if he is, what does Nagy do here in a couple weeks whenever Mitchell Trubisky comes back? And does Mitchell Trubisky learn a lot from watching Chase Daniel maneuver in this offense? And does that make Mitchell Trubisky a better player? So if that is the case, would Chicago Bears fans not be happy about the situation regardless if you're real fans? That's a question I'd like to have answered. And I would like the guy that tweeted me that very nasty comment for him to answer that question as well. And since he's not here, Zito, why don't you speak for an entire city?
No matter what, I said it before. Whoever Matt Nagy says who's going to play, he's going to play. Doesn't matter who it is.
Well, yeah, we know that.
Accurate.
Dynamite drop in, Lonnie.
We know whoever Matt Nagy says is going to play is going to play.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the Chicago fan base in general.
Well, that's what I'm saying right there. The fan base is going to be behind Coach Nagy no matter what.
Yeah, but I think he's saying is if Chase Daniel goes like 3 or 4-0, do you want to see Trubisky come back in, or are you happy that you have Chase Daniel and keep riding him out?
I'm going to be happy if either of them do good. That doesn't matter.
So simple.
That's such a great answer, though, because to them it really is like I don't care. I don't care who's kicking the ball either, as long as it doesn't double doink up there in Chicago.
Don't bring up the double doink.
It almost doesn't matter who's playing quarterback in Chicago.
That Bears defense is the truth. But nobody, what slips through the surface or slips through the cracks here is that Patriots defense. because Tom Brady, because of Belichick, which, by the way, defensive guy, even though he knows all sides of the football better than everybody else, because of Josh McDaniels, because of the glitz and glamour of the 6 Super Bowl rings, that defense has won them a game. That defense won them the game against Buffalo. It would have won them a game against everybody else. They're holding nobody's scoring on them. Their special team scored a touchdown that got them a win. That Patriots defense is the most well-rounded I think we've seen it in some time, which is only going to make them even more dangerous. But that is why the Patriots defense isn't being talked about like the Chicago Bears defense, because when you turn on the tape of the Chicago Bears team, that defense jumps out. And that defense wins you games. Will the Dallas Cowboys have to do the same thing, or will Dak Prescott be the guy that steps up and says, pay me $150 million? It'll be interesting to see this weekend.
You know what's very scary is that Brady went 18 of 39 for 150 yards and interception, and they still won.
Can't beat them then. Won't be able to beat them ever. Patriots are great forever and ever. Amen. And that just sucks for everybody that has to watch.
You made a great point, though, about the Bears defense jumping out of you, because they get pressure, and not that the Patriots don't, but a lot of the Bears defense comes from their front seven. The Patriots, it's all about coverage. Their guys just suffocate you in the second.
And they just lock it down. I mean, the amount of discipline it takes, by the way, to cover people for 7-8 seconds is insanity. But when you got Khalil Mack, who could have been a Raider, should have been a Raider, ship him out. Can't win with him. Won't win with him. Get him out of here. Not a Raider. Too expensive. It's a lot of guaranteed money, man. He's arguing to be like MVP of the league, not just defensive MVP. Khalil Mack is making more plays for that defense than I think I've seen any defensive player make in a long time. He is a force on that field. It's fun to watch.
Does he turn up even more against the Raiders?
Oh yeah, he said he's looking forward to it.
Yeah, because they literally said he wasn't worth his value. Right, I don't think anybody's overvalued or undervalued. I think everybody's valued completely accurately to whatever anybody will pay you. Yeah. That's when everyone say, oh, they overpaid this person. It's like, nope. They were paid exactly what they thought they were worth. I don't think there's any such thing. But Khalil Mack definitely feels slighted by the Raiders saying, that's a lot of guaranteed money, man, for anybody. It's like, do you see why? The guy is an animal. Look for him to jump over the offensive line a couple times, and Raiders may have Derek Carr have nightmares. He probably is all week. He should be. I'm having nightmares, too, about whether or not the truck's going to work on Thursday. But we're back here in Indianapolis tomorrow. We can't thank you enough for listening and watching. You're the absolute greatest. Alberto Riveron, I apologize for telling the truth. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
See you, Dawn.
See you, buddy.
Appreciate it, Don.
Thanks, Don.